And if I don't like it, I actually think I will quit BookTube and never return to the internet again. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the end of year book tag, which was created by Ariel Bissett. And this is just a list of questions to talk about your end of the year reading plans, the books that you want to get to, new books coming out. The first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? There's not that many books that I put down for the time being with the intention to still pick them up later, but there are a few. Firstly being Ink Blood Sister Scribe. This was actually one of my book club books and I had to put it down. Not because of anything going on in the book, but I got really bad news while I was reading the book, and then every time I tried to pick it up after that, I was just associating the book with really negative feelings. And I had been loving the book up to that point, so I didn't want to be attaching those negative emotions to the book. So I was like, let me put it down and come back to it at another time. So I do want to go back to that because I was loving it so much. Another one I actually just very recently put down, and that is Iron Flame. Okay, the book was giving me anxiety. The book was giving me anxiety, and I was like, let me put it down and read some other things and I'll come back to it. I need to go back to that and finish it. And then this isn't a book that I need to finish, but it's a duology, and that is the One Dark Window duology. I read the first book and I loved it, and the second book came out, Two Twisted Crowns. I have to read that before the end of the year and complete that duology because book one ended on a cliffhanger, and the only reason I have not read it yet is because I'm not mentally prepared. So I will probably be reading that in December. Question number 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? I have a few that I think would be good transition books. Also, I like how I'm wearing a strawberry sweater, which is totally summery. And we're like, oh, we're going into winter. The first one is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This one I just feel like is gonna have the perfect autumnal fall to winter vibes. This one is about a woman, Emily Wilde, who is a professor, and she goes to this small town so she can study fairy folklore and discovers dark magic, friendship, and love. She has a romance with her academic rival. It just sounds like it's gonna be my perfect book. I might be hyping it up for myself a little bit too much, and if I don't like it, I actually think I will quit BookTube and never return to the internet again. Another one that I really want to read that I feel like is just gonna have the perfect vibes is Bookshops and Bone Dust. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes. I've actually already read it. I read an arc back in June, but I want to listen to the audiobook now that that is out, and I just think it's gonna be the perfect transitional book. This is a cozy fantasy. The first book takes place in a coffee shop, and this one takes place in a bookstore, and it's just the perfect vibes. I'm also contemplating rereading the Hunger Games trilogy. I am currently reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before the movie comes out, and I'm really enjoying it, and it is giving me that kind of I don't know, something about the fall and winter. I feel very nostalgic. I usually like to rewatch a lot of my favorite movies, and I like comfort things, which I know when you think of Hunger Games, you don't think of comfort, but I do get a lot of nostalgia from those books, so I've been considering rereading them. I have not read them since I was a teenager, so I feel like it would be fun to read them now as an adult with my adult brain. Also, after reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I feel like it'll just be a different experience. Question 3 is there a new release you're still waiting for? I feel like there's not that many books coming out from now to the end of the year that I am super excited for, except that there's 2. The first one is Till Death Do Us Barred. I just found this the other day on Goodreads, and it sounds so cute. It is a cozy fantasy romance about this guy who's an ex-mercenary, and he has retired now that he has met and married his sunshine singing husband, but then his husband is kidnapped and he must pick up his axe again and try to find his husband. It sounds so adorable. And then the other one is Good Girls Don't Die by Christina Henry. This one is about 3 women who wake up in stories that aren't their own and they don't know what's going on. And that just sounds very bizarre and weird, and I'm like, I need to know more. What is this? And I've loved every Christina Henry book that I've read. I think she is fastly becoming a favorite author of mine. Question 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? And I have way more than 3, of course. This is the stack of books that are my top priority. So I have Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I really want to read this. I just feel like this is gonna have like the cozy mystery vibes that I've desperately been searching for. You Again, which I feel like is just gonna be the perfect November Thanksgiving romance book. I don't know if it actually takes place on Thanksgiving, but I look at this cover and I think Thanksgiving. This one is a romance that is inspired by When Harry Met Sally. It just sounds perfect. Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is a YA fantasy book that is a Death in the Maiden retelling, and I've just been recommended this so many times, and I don't read YA that often, but I'm like, so many people are recommending this book to me. I have to read it. I do. 2 arcs that I really want to read before the end of the year. Evocation by S.T. Gibson, which this one doesn't come out till May, so if I don't read this by the end of the year, that's fine. I just really want to. And then A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a Viking fantasy romance. This one comes out in February, so I would like to read this before the end of the year because usually January and February are like very pre-planned reading months for me because of specific videos that I do at the beginning of the year. So I feel like I have to read this before the end of the year or I'm not gonna get to it. I also really want to read the next 2 books in the Chestnut Spring series, Powerless and Reckless, and maybe Hopeless. Maybe I can finish the Chestnut Spring series, although I don't really want to finish it until her next spin-off series is out yet. I don't know. I just don't want the series to end. These are small town cowboy romances, although actually not all of them are cowboys. So let's just go with it's a small town romance series and it's actually perfection. I also really want to read Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I have been putting this one off for so long because she has like a couple fantasy series that are multi-connected, like in the same world. And Sword Heart, which is one of my all-time favorite books that's a standalone, is set in this world. I'm just nervous to read anything else in this world, but this sounds great. It's a fantasy romance, but I'm nervous because it's either gonna be an all-time fave or I'm gonna be so disappointed. And then I also would really like to read Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson because I have this gorgeous edition of it and I cannot keep seeing this on my bookshelf and have it not be read. This is also a fantasy romance. So those are the books that I most want to read before the end of the year. Question number 5 is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Honestly, any of those books that I just mentioned, I think could be favorites. Like, a lot of them are by authors who I have given 5 stars before, like Danielle L. Jensen, Elsie Silver, T. Kingfisher, S.T. Gibson. I've given all of these authors 5 stars. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, I gave Trust of the Emerald Sea 4 stars, but I really loved it. So that could be a favorite. Like, honestly, any of those. Emily Wilde, if this is not a favorite book, like I said, y'all will never hear from me again. I also really want to read Spells for Forgetting. This one could also be a favorite just because it is like a fantasy murder mystery vibe and that sounds great. Like, any of those could be favorites. And then the last question is, have you already started making reading plans for 2024? Of course. Of course, I have a lot of reading plans. I am doing a whole 2024 reading challenge with my patrons that I'm really excited about. I am already in my brain planning for my Reading Booktubers Favorites reading vlog. I've been thinking about what books I feel like are gonna show up on people's lists and what I might be reading. So like, I've just been thinking about what's been very popular this year, what people have been reading, because last year the most popular book was a shock to me, and that was Confessions by Kane Minato, which is a very old book to have been resurrected on BookTube. I've been keeping an eye on what people have been loving and really paying attention to it. I also think next year I will be reading Booktubers' worst books as well. So I've been keeping an eye on that also. So that is gonna be the end of the year TBR tag. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!